Hello there, everyone. It is Luke here with Top Bins with Twins. Paul sitting right across from me. How you doing today, Paul?
I'm a little sweaty. The AC is currently out of our house, so we're just we're surviving for now, you know.
If you want to call it that. If you want
But
to call it that.
on the other hand, FPL is really, really back, and I know I'm getting really excited.
Let me tell you, it's heating up just like our house.
literally, it is.
It is. So, yeah, what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to run through some hot take ideas that we have that we are predicting. They might be right, might not be right. Only time will tell on this one. But we're going to run through some hot take ideas on what we see happening in the upcoming FPL season. So, without further ado, do we want to dive into it, Paul, or are there any other kind of smaller topics you want to talk about a little bit before we go right into it?
Honestly, I think I'm kind of ready to just dive in. It's
Okay.
I know for me right now, I'm getting, like I said, I think whenever the prices first came out for FPL, I know you were pumped and you were like going through the roof with FPL, and I think it's just kind of been like a gradual slow raise for me, you know, an excitement for the game to appear. And like honestly, as every minute goes by, I'm just getting more and more excited for the whole season.
No,
so.
that's great. And it's getting here. It's right around the corner. I think the season starts
really is.
August 16th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently recording on August 1st. So, really, little over 2 weeks away, which as soon as the summer started, or I guess the Premier League break started, it seemed like it was going to be, months and months and just an enormous gulf that needed to be crossed. And here we are about 2 weeks away. So we made it. We're almost there. Happy tinkering to everyone, but don't over tinker. So let's dive right into it, Paul. How about you talk about your first hot take for the defender position?
Okay. I think Pedro Porro is going to be the highest scoring defender in the game this year.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
Foundationally, I think I just believe in what the Spurs team did last year before they had their huge run of injuries. And I think they've made some decent summer signings. I think they're going to be a deeper team. They really do need to probably sign a striker, in my opinion. I know Son can play that role. He scored 2 goals last night in a friendly, where he was kind of playing on the wing a little bit, kind of playing through the middle also. So, I think it's a viable option, but for the Spurs team to be the most balanced version of itself, I think he needs to be on the left wing with a good striker. But I that does play a part in their defense because with if they had a poacher of a 9 with Son on the left too and Kulusevski on the right, I think Porro could bring in a crazy amount of assists.
Quick little tidbit. Kulusevski was playing as the 9 in the past couple preseason matches. So he might be inhibiting that space that Madison was going to, intended to be playing in.
Yeah. But the whole point to me is that like I think I really just believe in the Spurs team overall in general, and I think with a healthy run this year, we're going to see that Porro is going to I think people have kind of forgotten the FPL asset that he could be.
Most importantly, they just need to not get multiple red cards or injuries when they play Chelsea.
Yeah,
that's the match that we need to be worried about for them. But another note to kind of build off of what you're talking about is today, Fabrizio Romano, the illustrious Twitter reporter who knows everything about the footballing world regarding transfers, he reported that Tottenham are making some inquiries on Dominique Solanke from Bournemouth. That would be a very, very good signing for Tottenham.
That would be awesome. That would be really good for them.
From an FPL view, that would be great too, because Solanke is $7.5 million overall. He would fit in that system really nicely. I could see him and Son having some very nice interplay. Solanke is great at the ball, great with the ball at his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like I said, really nice interplay as well. So I'd love to see him playing with Kulusevski, playing with Madison, playing with Son, Brennan Johnson running in behind for some of his hold-up play. It could be very interesting, really good for Spurs. And, he does a really good job of just being on the pitch. He's been pretty fit the last couple of seasons. So
yeah, and I mean, think about their back line now. If they have Pedro Porro on the right, Udogie on the left, Dragonson / Romero / Van de Ven in the back, that's a really good defense. Their main issue, I think, is the midfield really is solidifying in front of them.
I think Tottenham have made one of the signings of the season.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an FPL signing of the season,
not
but
flashy.
Archie Gray from Leeds is going to be great for them. And then they also have, I can't remember his name. They signed this Danish wonder kid who they signed over
I remember
Barcelona,
him. Yeah.
17 or 18. He's been playing for them in their friendlies. Their midfield is there where, I think Archie Gray will probably eventually start for them at some point. And he offers some cover at right back too, right? If you get
Yeah.
Pedro Porro hurt, Emerson Royale looks like he's going out. But Archie Gray he's a very press resistant midfielder.
Yeah.
And that's what they need in that setup is they need someone who, can evade a tackle, but also he's very good defensively as well.
Yeah, I think that's the downside of Basuma really at the end of the day. Like, he is so good with the ball at his feet, but he hasn't developed the ability to really play out of the ball. To play the ball on.
I don't want to speak to the statistics. I haven't looked at them exactly. In watching him, it seems like he struggles with really, passes over 20 yards or so. That seems like where he doesn't have the vision for it or he can't play the ball in the first place.
For our U.S. fans listening to this podcast, I think he's a great comp for Yunus Musa. And a place probably that we don't want Musa to be in. I mean, actually, I don't know where their ages line up, but just needing to find the ability to really knit, I'd say, the other 2/3 together,
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably enough on my hot take, my first one. Let's go ahead and hear yours, Luke.
My hot take, excuse me, for the defender position is I really think that Lewis Hall could be the best value pick out of any defender for the entire season. Side note, I think Livermonto could be an insane pick as well if Trippier leaves. Trippier would have to leave in order for him to kind of lock in, and we know for a fact he's going to play that right back position. But going back to Lewis Hall.
Do you know how likely is it that you've seen that Trippier is going to leave?
It's very speculative from what I understand. He was spending some of his time in Saudi.
That's right. We did talk about that the other day.
We talked about this the other day. And it seems like the Newcastle United faithful on Twitter were doing some deep dives on that. And it seemed like there's a little smoke there. I don't know. Well, time will tell with that. But if he moves on, I think Livermonto could be a great asset. But Lewis Hall has looked really good in their preseason friendlies.
Mm-hmm.
He got an assist their last match, and I think he's gotten a goal as well. So in that setup, it seems like what they're going to do is probably play a back three as Newcastle prefer to, but Tino Livermonto will just slide into that right center back position, and Hall will tuck into the inverted midfield role.
Okay.
That gives him some attacking potential there. He's, he does have defensive responsibilities, obviously, but my scorching hot take is that having Lewis Hall and Livermonto in the same squad could be an insane combination, because I could see Newcastle regaining some of the form they had from 2 seasons past now.
Yeah, like the second half of the season.
Where they just went on a run where they kept an insane amount of clean sheets for about a 20-game stretch.
Yeah.
And they kind of fell apart as they got injuries, but I could see them getting back to that point where the defensive solidity is something they can rely on. And if the clean sheets are locked in and the attacking potential that Hall could offer, I think he could be an incredible asset for Newcastle.
I mean, really think about that Newcastle team. I mean, they have Isak up top. And, I mean, getting Tonali back in the midfield is going to help him out leaps and bounds. Their center back should be healthy. Is Botman back? Is he healthy again now?
I believe so, but they also
did
did sign Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth on a free transfer. So he offers more coverage
depth
as well, which depth was one of their big issues last season. There are rumors that Gordon might make the move to Liverpool. There's been a lot of smoke. Apparently he's open to the move, but we don't know if it's going to happen.
Spicy FPL move there.
It would. I would kind of prefer for him to stay at Newcastle, though.
Minutes would be a question with DS on the left, too.
And Gakpo and Jota and so many people who can play on the left there for Liverpool. I wouldn't love the move. It would instantly decrease his value in FPL unless we know he's locked in the starting, but we wouldn't know that going into game week 1.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Gordon would be an avoid if he moved to Liverpool. back to Lewis Hall, though, I think he could be a great asset with his preseason performances so far. He's one of the really, truly one of the defenders priced at 4.5 that he's locked into my team.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great take, Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's pass it over to you, Paul. What is your scorching hot midfield take?
I have a couple that I wrote down, and I kind of just wanted to see what I felt on the pod, And I think the one I'm going to go with is somebody in FPL that I have always supported, and I think this year's going to be a great year for him. I think Jared Bowen's going to have 35-plus goal contributions.
35-plus goal contributions.
So do you know how many he had last year?
I think he 25 to 30.
Somewhere in that ballpark. 30 total in the whole season. So that's not. I'm sure that's factoring in some of their. Were they in Europe last year? They weren't in Europe last year, were they?
No, they were because they won the Conference League the year before.
Yeah. So those numbers are skewed a little bit, but I think he could really get there with the team that West Ham have kind of built. Like they went and got Sinistera, who I think is going to be a great signing for them from Leeds.
No, Somerville,
who is going to be really good within that team. And I mean, they've made some other really good moves. They have a new coach in this year.
They brought in Max Kilman, a really good center back from Wolves. They signed Wan-Bissaka, really good move for them as well. And then probably what you'll have is and then they also possibly
is their coach now. So
I don't know if you've heard this or not. They might bring in Fulkrug from Borussia Dortmund as their striker.
That would be awesome.
So think about that, right? If you're playing, you have a front four of Fulkrug, and then you have
Bowen.
Somerville on the left, Kudus through the middle, and then Bowen on the right. And then that midfield is really strong. Edson Alvarez is out with an injury he picked up during Copa America. I'm not sure when he's going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a crazy duration of it. I think it was a hamstring issue that he picked up. So hopefully he's back near the start of the season. Mm-hmm. But West Ham has been making moves this summer. So it's something to keep an eye on. Lopetegui is a good manager too.
Yeah.
Premier League proven. So we'll see what happens with West Ham. But they could be interesting.
I know you've chronically been a West Ham hater, and now you're gonna have to readjust now that David Moyes is
I'm fine with that. Yeah,
that's for the betterment of the world. Though.
Everyone who's listened to the pod knows how I feel about David Moyes.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, honestly though, I'm pretty confident in Bowen getting 35+ goal contributions in this team if he stays healthy and plays almost all the matches. I think he always just shows up in the right places at the right time. So
if he hits 35 goal contributions, I'd be very surprised. I think the plus minus in my mind is probably 25. Maybe like 20. Actually, maybe like 26 and a half.
I think the point of that for me is I'm just projecting a very good year for him.
Right. Yes, I get that. I'm just saying in my mind, my expectations are probably a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think it's a good shout, especially if he's surrounded by other players that he can really be creative around, because we've seen him. Like, he's a very, very good player. He's reliable.
He's a really good finisher for a
very, very clinical. So I love that shout. Yeah, I really do.
Let's hear yours, Luke. Let's hear what you got.
My hot take that's not so hot overall is, I just want to really emphasize this. I think Christopher Nkunku is highly undervalued for what he's going to bring for Chelsea.
Yeah. I agree.
It is incredible that FPL thought, let's price him at 6.5.
He's probably
and
one
have
of
a
the best price
$4
point players,
million
right?
difference between him and Cole Palmer. He could have been priced at 7.5, 8, and I think some people would still bring him in their teams. But it's 6.5. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. He's so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he stays healthy, he's gonna be over 50% owned by week
question.
3 or 4.
Yeah, that's the big. If he can stay healthy, I think he's been, like, last year was just a train wreck for him with injuries, with like how all there's so many factors at play, but he just kind of get on the pitch, and I think Premier League fans are about to see how much of a baller he really is.
Oh, he's great. He is an elite player, and he's very clinical too. He's creative, and he's fun to watch play, which is one of the big things we kind of talk about, right? With our FPL assets, if we're going to be watching these teams play, we want to enjoy watching players, at least the way that I play the game. I want
Yeah,
to, right?
absolutely.
And there's plenty of creative players out there where you can select them in your team where they're going to return, but also you'll enjoy watching them too. And Chris Nkuku falls right in the middle of that Venn diagram of fun and effective at the same time, to where he can be a great player to have in your team. And I really think we are undervaluing how good he's going to be this season. If you look at the preseason, he's been incredible. Chelsea haven't been great. That should be stated. They just really haven't been.
Shocking.
But when you look at his numbers right now, he's 16.3% owned. And Cole Palmer is above 50, 55%. I don't know exactly.
Like 50, I think it was like 54.
Just
I can check.
with how FPL Towers have priced all of the players across the board. So if you look at Holland breaking the price record for the most costly player, you have
Palmer's at 52, by the way.
52%. That's crazy. But you have so many pricey players who have all gone up 2 or 3 million from their prices last season that you've got to cut corners somewhere. And Nkuku is an excellent option for covering Chelsea to an extent. Cole Palmer is going to be on penalties. Marquise, sorry, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that right. But Chelsea's new manager, he came out and he said that Palmer will be on penalties after their match yesterday. So we know that. That's okay. It's fine. But Nkuku, I still expect him to return.
Yeah.
It's
going to be
goals.
fun seeing Nkuku and just Palmer play together.
Yeah.
General.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a really fun Premier League combination to see how their partnership develops and grows, and like the spaces that they're going to occupy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be a balance they're going to figure out, because they both, I think, kind of like Kuku can play out wide and so can Palmer, but like they're just going to have to find the balance and like the interchange between that. They can easily flip positions and do what the other person does at the same time. So
they definitely can.
It's exciting for Chelsea.
It is,
if they ever figure it out,
We'll see. They,
who knows?
Like we said, they
Who
haven't
knows?
looked great in preseason, but I actually have another hot take for you.
Okay.
I think that ESR, Amelia Smith-Rowe, who has just made the move to Fulham from Arsenal for, I think it was 34, 35 million pounds.
Ended up being like 34, I think.
In that ballpark. There's obviously add-ons there, it kind of depends on performance, how many times he's played, all that. But I think he's coming into the season priced at 5.5 million pounds. I think he could end the season easily at 6.5, maybe higher.
I agree.
As long as he stays fit and is on the pitch. Because in my opinion, I don't think Fulham have anyone else who can do what he does. He has such a unique skill set in creating chances, finishing chances. He's insanely talented. It just didn't click for him at Arsenal. I think, especially with their opening fixtures here, I think it's kind of mad that a lot of people even more people aren't considering him at 5.5 million with Fulham's fixtures.
I agree. Look, I think it's kind of like the same conversation we were just having about Nkuku, that like whenever players kind of disappear from like the viewpoints of fans, I think people really forget how talented they can be, especially when, with ESR, there was so much hype for him at Arsenal. And there was a reason why, like, because he is an extremely talented footballer. And he just hasn't been able to showcase that because of playing time and mostly because of injuries, all that stuff at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be given the chance at Fulham to do that. And I think he's gonna do great. And I really just hope that he can keep off the injury list, because that would not be a great situation.
Yep, I agree. Apologies, everyone.
Wes.
There might be a little
There's
doggo
Wes.
barking in the background there.
He's just saying hi to everybody in the pod.
But
Little
kind of
Wes
what
cameo. Go
what
ahead.
I was thinking though is, with his creativity, he's going to be a great fit there. And Marco Silva is a top manager. I think he'll do his best to get the best version of ESR when he's surrounded. Muniz is a great finisher up top, and if he can continue his form from last season, but from what he looks like, he could be a top striker in the Premier League.
Yeah,
that's a duo there.
Early days.
That's a duo there that is interesting. My question to you: how would you feel if someone tripled up on Fulham between, let's say, a defender? Let's just go with Jedi. So Miles Robinson, defender.
Robinson.
Sorry,
Anthony Robinson.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. Thinking about one of our other American center backs. And then ESR and then Muniz. How would you feel about that triple up?
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's triple up on Fulham. Like, I only really want to go tripling up on a team where I'm like, I know this is going to be a dominant team,
Right.
and I don't think I have full faith in Fulham to be dominant throughout the season. But I mean, if you catch them on a good run, I think those three players could be good options.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just depends on the timing of that, really. But yeah, I really love the ESR shout, Luke. Arsenal love on the pod.
I have
guess he's
one
an Arsenal player.
more quick.
I have one more one too, but you actually go ahead. You have an Arsenal one.
This kind of bridges. This
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
bridges. I think Martin Odegaard could be one of the top 5 midfield scorers of the season.
Yeah, I see that.
He had an entire summer off, and with the signing of just signed Moreno, correct? From what is it, Real Sociedad?
I don't know if it's gone through yet.
Has it not?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've been chronically offline now that I'm busy during the days.
From everything I understand, it was finalized between the clubs, and then maybe it was just personal terms. So that should probably be pushed through pretty soon.
But that would be a big signing for
But
Arsenal. That makes Odegaard's life a lot easier.
creativity there, where he's going to sit a little bit deeper, but also offer more creativity than they've had. So something to keep an eye on, and I think Odegaard will be able to push a little higher up the pitch as well. So on top of that, he's 1.5 million cheaper than Saka. And as we talked about with the budgetary constraints we have this season, I really think that Odegaard could be the way to go to attack the Arsenal attack. And I think he's going to have a great season after the summer off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, Luke. I
Yeah.
have a scorching hot take for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
And it's an Arsenal take, so I had to throw it on the pod.
Of course.
I think Saka's going to get to 30 goals this year.
30 goals.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think honestly, and part of the reason I'm saying that is because of the signings Arsenal have made with Calafiori coming in the team and also Moreno. I think it's going to offer a different balance that Arsenal didn't have last year for attacking reasons. And if you think about Arsenal last year, like what was it? I think like almost 60% of their goals were on set pieces. Like a lot of their goals did not come from open play reasons. And I think this is a team that's still growing and maturing. I think Arteta's going to want to push to like creating faster chances and like being more progressive as a team.
Yeah.
And I think Saka's at the forefront of that. I think if they can get him in positions for him to succeed, I think he could have a record year for himself in the Premier League. I mean, if you look at him, he's been stair-stepping every year. And like, I mean, he had 16 goals last year. 30's a large margin to make up.
Yeah, 14 more goals is a lot.
It's a lot, but I think Arsenal are going to have a great year again this year, and I think they're going to score a lot more goals too.
But on that point you're talking about, right, where Calafiori, he was brought in to kind of rebalance the left side, right? Maybe some of those goals and creativity, they're going to move more to the left. A little bit. I think that the goal is to open up the left. Calafiori, he is going to push higher up. He's going to be similar.
Yeah.
He's going to be similar to Ben White, where he can overlap. And this is something we've been saying for a long time, that when you look at Saka, he has that relationship with Ben White and then a triangle with Odegaard where they have options. Ben White can tuck in, he can overlap and go wide, make the run in to the byline. But now with having Calafiori, that gives Martinelli somewhat of that relationship too.
Yeah.
Where he is someone who has the pace,
Or Trossard.
very
It
athletic.
could be Trossard too. So
I think it'll probably be Martinelli, really,
We'll
is
see.
what I see. Martinelli, I think, has a little bit of a higher upside. He's more versatile.
I do agree with you, but
So in that situation, I think some of the goals could be taken from him, but other chances will be created. So we'll just have to wait and see whatever happens throughout the season, how Arteta sets the team up. But I think it's a great point to bring that up, though, because Calafiori is going to change a lot of things that they're doing on the left side.
too.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's also Timber too, who's floating around. Like, who knows what the balance is going to be between that, because Timber offers something completely different too that Arsenal haven't had.
And for FPL, if Timber is starting at left back, that's a really cheap price into the Arsenal defense. He's at 5 mil right now.
Yeah, compared to other Arsenal defenders, and he's going to roam too.
He will.
He's going to be showing up in places all over the pitch. So, who knows? We'll keep the Arsenal talk to a little bit. We'll keep it a little lower, but
Yeah, no, definitely.
but it's going to be an interesting year. Interesting year.
Yeah.
Do you wanna- go
So I shared my Arsenal scorching hot take with Odegaard. I think I'm ready to move on to forwards.
Yeah,
Are
let's
you?
do it.
My thought process here is something that a lot of people probably have thought about, but I'm going to go out and say something a bit more extreme than just kind of the casual thought. I think Erling Haaland could score 40 goals this season in the Premier League alone. Alone in the Premier League.
Interesting.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Whenever we look back on Haaland's season last year, it was pretty disappointing,
Fraud watch.
right? He was out for about 3 months or so, but I think he ended up scoring 27 goals or so.
Yeah, he beat Palmer to the Golden Boot.
Yes. So whenever we think back on that, there are so many times that he missed open chances,
Yeah.
should have finished chances. It just did not happen. On top of that, though, KDB was out for a large amount of the season, especially building up in the beginning portion of the season.
Do you think KDB is going to get consistently 90 minutes in these games, Luke? Or, I mean,
I think he'll probably play 70,
yeah.
right? Pep is very much so of the understanding that KDB is not the player he was when he initially got there from Wolfsburg. That's not who he doesn't have that.
He's adapted, though, you know.
He has. But he doesn't. He's not really playing deeper, though, right? You know, with Gerrard, for example, he was playing in that creative attacking role, and then he dropped deeper as his career went later on. So he wasn't having to make as many runs, wasn't having to exert himself as much. KDB hasn't quite made that transition yet. But the point about Haaland that I really want to look at here, though, is whenever you look at his career from very beginning, so he started out in Norway, goes to he was at Salzburg in Austria for a little bit, makes a move to Borussia Dortmund. Every season he has overperformed his XG, every single one. That's about 6 seasons there or so. Last season was the only time he's underperformed his XG.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that, for one, he's on penalties. I think City are going to come into this knowing that Arsenal are going to be pushing to get, what's the maximum amount of points you can get? 120.
I mean, so you play what, like
124?
37 games, right?
It's just 19 times.
No, it's not.
No,
It's
that's
19.
not.
It's they play 37.
It's 38 times
38
30.
games.
Let's do some quick math on the pot. 114 points is the maximum you can get.
So mark it down for Arsenal.
Arsenal will be pushing for like 100 points, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you hit 100 points, you probably win the league, no doubt about it, especially if you take points away from City. I think
Match week 5.
Pep and City, they know that Arsenal are going to push them this season. So the only thing that I think is going to hurt City is if Haaland doesn't perform. I think he's going to perform. He's shown time and time again that you give him chances, he's going to finish the chances. He is an elite finisher, and I think last season was a little bit of an outlier. He probably had that injury going on a little bit longer than we knew.
I'd say
where
so.
it was nagging him and everything, and we have a little bit of an injury concern so far right now. I mean, even after their last preseason friendly, Pep comes out and says he subbed him at half because he was having injury issues. We'll see how that goes, but
He has to be healthy for this prediction to come true. So
that is very true.
that's what really
But
matters.
it comes down to, I mean, he scores a goal a match, right? And there's a possibility he could score 5 goals in one match this season.
I do question, though, with the teams that we have that have gone up this year, the promoted sides that go in the Premier League, I'm wondering if we're going to see more balance in those teams than we did in the teams last year.
Maybe.
So we have
but
Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich. Ipswich maybe not. But, I mean, I think these are teams that came up this year that have Premier League pedigree, that have like been there. They understand what it's like to play a whole season in the Premier League. So they may approach these matches differently than, say, a team like Luton Town, who got blown out a lot and really contributed to some goal tallies that maybe won't happen this year, you know?
Perhaps.
Maybe more balance in the league.
But even if you look at whenever City played Luton, the only time they blew them out was whenever they played in the FA Cup.
That's
That was the only
that's
time.
just a general.
Right. I get what you're
In
saying, but I
general,
don't
like-
even think they did that great against promoted sides. If my memory is serving correctly, you all can go and fact check that after listening to
Yeah,
the pod.
I'm just saying in general that
Yeah,
it's possible that with better promoted sides this year,
I hear you, and I think that there's also this new layer of Pep is kind of changing his style a little bit. He's bringing these electric, quick wingers. So you've got Doku on the left, who will probably be the starter eventually. I think Grealish
Grealish
might start out. Grealish might start out the season starting, but I don't think that's going to last. Especially with Doku not currently with City. I think he'll be back in training sometime soon. But you also have Savinho, right? The Brazilian talent who is incredible on the ball. He is
I really haven't
so
got
quick,
to watch him play yet.
very creative. I think Holland will have a lot of chances. They'll be even easier than last season, factoring in the wingers, but also just having KDB back on the pitch. And as him and Foden continue to develop their relationship as well, I think Foden will find him in better positions too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. I really do think though that Holland could, if he has a good year for him, just a good year, not a bad year, he could hit 40 goals.
Well, Luke, my hot take for forwards is in direct opposition to yours.
Oh, is it Holland?
I think Isak is going to be the top scorer for forwards this year in FPL.
Okay. Tell me more.
I think it kind of foundationally goes back to the point that I made about when we were talking about Newcastle earlier, that I just think this is a year where Newcastle can finally really balance out if they don't get attacked by injuries like they did last year, where Isak has shown us that he is one of the most creative forwards in the Premier League, and they're just building a better team at this time. And I think the more solid they are, the more what's the right way to phrase it? The more ability he has to really shine. And I think we're seeing that in preseason. He's already scored, I think, maybe 2 or 3 goals in preseason. And I don't see that slowing down, really. I mean, with him and Gordon, I mean, if Gordon leaves, that changes things. Because I think Gordon offers a lot that, lets him kind of do his stuff in the front. But, I mean, I really think he could have a record year for himself. Not Premier League records, but,
Importantly as well, Gordon is a straight up pin merchant. And
He
Isak has certainly benefited from that. But that's because of who Gordon is. That's how he plays. He's aggressive. He's quick. He has really good instincts. And I have completely done a 180 on my opinion on Gordon from when he was at Everton, because he just seemed like he was
really young.
Yeah, he was really young, but he works insanely hard. He really cares about what he does. And I really, really think that Gordon is one of the most important pieces they have. If he leaves, I think that opportunity for Isak to be the top point scorer for a forward position is really questionable.
Yeah.
If Gordon leaves, that's the only thing I'd be worried about.
Yeah, they lose a lot of creativity in their team with Gordon gone, and just ability to stretch defenses, all these different things that Gordon provides. But I think with that full team that Newcastle has right now, I think Isak could possibly do it.
Yeah, I really would not be shocked, frankly. So yeah, I think that's a great shout. Isak is a super talented player. Mm-hmm. As we were talking about with Nkuku, he is incredibly fun to watch play too.
Oh yeah,
he's a magician with the ball at his feet, and
he's also finishing. He's a good finisher too.
No, his finishing has
it's coming along.
He is a man who's been in the lab working on his game, and
he's been using those VC credits.
He has been. So I applaud him for his improvement over time, and I'm excited to see kind of where he ends up to, because he has a top he has a City or Arsenal aura to him at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe even like Real Madrid. I wouldn't be shocked if they came in and bid for him.
Honestly, he would fit Real. He would fit this Real team exceptionally well as their 9.
He would. As long as he's healthy.
He could be healthy.
Yes.
As the pin we put in almost all our points today, barring health.
Yeah, there's a lot of those with these players too.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll kind of bring us to the close of this pod. Do you have any final thoughts for the listeners out there, Paul?
I think this is a year to invest in midfielders. I really do. I think with the wealth of midfield options that we have around, a lot of players' prices have rose from last year, like Luke was saying earlier, but I think building a strong midfield is going to be the foundation to a good team this year.
Do you think Eze's a good midfielder?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a really good option. He's probably not going to be in my team in the beginning of the season, but I think kind of seeing what Palace looks like without Elise and like letting them roll out a little bit to see if the form from the end of last year was temporary or if it's kind of here to stay. I think it's good to maybe take a flyer on that. But Eze's a baller. Like even if Crystal Palace is horrible, which I doubt, he's still going to produce some. But if they're really good, he's going to skyrocket up people's like FPL like must-have list.
Here's my thing. There's two things. There's a report that came out. I shouldn't be laughing, but Mateta apparently was making the claim that he wanted to be playing Champions League football now and wanted to make a move elsewhere.
I really hope not.
I hope not too, because that would really make it difficult on Crystal Palace. The second point, though, related to Crystal Palace was ESR but in Crystal Palace, they were making bids for ESR.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine him playing for Glasner, cooking in that system with Eze. That would have been
fun.
It would have been a lot of fun
with Wharton as the pivot, and then all the different options.
Hey, don't forget Will Hughes. Don't forget him.
Hey,
Paul.
The Crystal Palace fans that listen to this pod would absolutely kill me for forgetting him. So you're right.
That man knows how to.
He is beloved.
He knows how to get stuck into a challenge.
Yeah, he's a proper challenge, but
he does.
Do you have any closing remarks, Luke?
My final remark, I think, for this pod is I know it's really easy to just draft teams over and over and over again, but don't spend all your time just sitting there doing drafts. My suggestion is to go and look at some stats from last season. Go spend some time on some subreddits of some of the teams that you're looking at. Figure out what their fans think they're going to be playing in, what shape, who's going to be playing where. Use that to help inform your decisions. Lean into the people who are the subject matter experts for their specific teams is all I'm trying to say here.
The Athletic's a good resource for that too.
It is. And also on top of that, maybe take if you've been doing a lot of drafts the last couple of days, take a day or two, just leave it where it is, and then come back and revisit later on, because it is always good to get a little bit of distance. You don't want to be tied too tightly into it, because we can tie our minds in the knot sometimes whenever we're just looking at the same thing over and over again. So give yourself some space, but the Premier League is about 2 weeks away at this point.
Yeah.
So it is time to start cooking.
Yeah, I agree. Look,
Yeah.
and just to reiterate your point, I think you're spot on with that almost building an ethos for your team and deciding actually how you want to play the game is a good way to go about it, rather than being like a crow that's just grabbing all these shining objects.
Right, exactly. So, an example, a couple questions you can ask yourself. Do I want to build my team around Holland? Do I want to build my team around Holland and Salah? Do I want to instead have a front three of Havertz, Isak, and Watkins? Right? In your mind, does that compromise of leaving Holland out? Do those front three allow you to make up the points where you would where you be getting with Holland? So there's a lot of questions like that you can kind of talk yourself through, see how you feel about it, and that'll really help shape how you build out your team for the season. So
I think those are all great points. I think this was a good podcast for the listener. I think there's a lot of good tidbits in here.
Yeah. Be sure, if you have any thoughts or questions about what we're saying here, reach out to us on Twitter at TopBinTwins. So feel free to contact us there. But we really do want to thank you all so much for joining us and getting this far into the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're still listening, go give us 5 stars on Spotify, because that helps the algorithm a lot for us.
Yeah,
so.
we'll take those 5 stars.
Yeah, go ahead and do that for us if you're still here.
Send them on over.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you. We'll be back soon.
Appreciate everyone. Have a good rest of your day, morning, night, whatever it may be.
See ya.